It's a high chaos ball, a wobbler. Oh, Reynolds, favoured by the bounce. He's going to turn it round the body, and he's got enough on it.
Hi everybody, welcome to Before the Bounce. Hope you can stay with us for a little while. We have got plenty coming up on the show as I welcome the stroke survivor, Greg Anderson, back to the show. Ando, how are you?
Mate, it's good to be back. A couple of weeks, I felt like I've been outed and on the bench, but I know you and Baz have done a wonderful job. But yeah, I had a little bit of a minor stroke.
A minor stroke,
I walked in the house and I thought the big Dipper Domenico jumped on the back, and I thought, what's going on here? And then I realised, there was no one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I had just a minor stroke and ended up spending hospital in Easter rather than on the riverbanks enjoying a couple of quiet ones.
Oh, mate, you look like you're recovering, which is great news, mate. And I'm sure all the viewers want it. But what's your take from that? If you had a message for the viewers, because sometimes we get an ache or a pain and we go, I'll deal with that later. Now that you've gone through something, what's your message?
It's pretty much that. You deal with it later, and I think we're all questionable to that, in our mindset, but yeah, look, if there's any sort of issues and you're getting a bit of a pain, or so you've got to get it checked out. I mean, look, I've had a lot of operations, and it's always my fault, and et cetera, my knee, my shoulder, my wrist, whatever the case may be. But this here, just bang, just hit me out of the blue. A few little signs, the last sort of 6-7 months when I sort of think back, and thought, nah, she'll be right. So please, never when it comes to that first sign, don't be too brave. Just go and get it checked out by the doctor.
All right, mate. Now the Southern Trophies discussion topics, and there's a few I want to get across for you, mate. So I want to talk about Carlton, where they're at the moment. I want to have a chat with you about Mark Williams, his arrival at Melbourne as the development coach. Suddenly, lots happening there. Biggest crowd, if the MCG allows it, it will be the biggest crowd in the world since COVID.
Fantastic.
So
we need them back.
We need them back. I want to talk to you about, obviously, Anzac Day games, mate. Essendon, Collingwood, such a big thing. Other one I want to touch on with you too, mate. I want to talk about, and I've been on this for a couple of years now, players having their name on the back of their jumpers. So just at the footy, I know tradition just says you have the number, and I want to have a discussion with you about that as well. And of course, there was one of the big upsets of footy last weekend, mate. A team that hadn't won for quite a while. We want to have a chat about that.
What a fantastic story. I love it.
All right, stay with us. All those topics to get discussed. Yes, you're watching Before the Bounce now, and I want to put the blowtorch right. We've talked about this before, and it's easy to sit here and go, we don't really want to do it, but I thought, let's have a segment where we put the blowtorch on a team each week, and we'll get your expert eyes across it. I want to go with Geelong. There's been a lot of talk about Geelong since the season started, where they're at. So I'll come across whether the coach at Geelong, is he sending mixed messages, poor messages?
It was always a poor message when that huddle when he went across to the opposition. I thought that was really poor, and especially when you end up with one and two or three just behind that one trying to drag him back.
The Brisbane game.
That was terrible. When you need your players to actually pull you back, and they knew that was ugly. It is interesting about the Cats, and we have talked about other teams as well that have lost grand finals and have just had that ripple through the side. The following year. Crows, perfect example. And it just seems that way for with the Cats this year. Look, I know Jeremy Cameron, is going to be a big plus for the team this week, and how Hawkins and Cameron's going to balance the ledger. Of course, Dangerfield getting rubbed out for 3 weeks, came back last week.
Ankle injury, may not play.
He may not play. So just little things are creeping into a side that's always had a really nice silky run. I've always felt it's. Whether now they're talking about whether I've kept a couple of players over the last probably 5 years a bit too long, and didn't give opportunities for other players to get you 40, 50 games. So you're hearing a lot of that sort of banter around. So there's obviously, it's probably not smooth sailing at Geelong. And I think it's made it, more of an aware because of that situation with Chris Scott. And he's saying, look, the team's not playing well. Yet he's got the audacity to go over and cause an issue in a huddle that his players had to go and help out.
All right. When Scotty says on TV that coaching isn't a very good job, I think he's right. What's your thoughts?
Well, look,
it's not an appreciated job. That's for
it's
sure.
not an appreciated job, and everything's relevant. Look, I remember coaching, did 3-side. And the pressure I was under because the club wants to win. Parents want their sons to improve, and players want to win. They want to be in a winning environment. And all of a sudden, I mean, look, they're still 3-2. It's not like they're they're running at 1-4. They're sitting in a pretty comfortable position. I think they're 7th or 8th. For Chris Scott to be talking that way right at the moment, it's unsettling, and I think it'll be unsettling for the players.
Yeah, look,
as a player, you think the coach has got to love it. He's going to be passionate. He's our leader. He's our number one. And for him to sort of come out that way and show a few cracks in the armour for the Cats, which we haven't seen for such a long time, and they're playing that way.
I reckon Scotty's under a fair bit of pressure. No matter what he says, some people agree with him, some people disagree. I thought he was always a bit. We should have a final at Geelong instead of at the MCG, and his argument was probably pretty sound. But to please the Geelong people, and they thought they deserved it. And you kind of read that and go, well, mate, that's the rule. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So he thought flogging a dead horse. But I thought last year he embraced the bubbles and the hubs and all that. I thought, gee, Scotty's pretty relaxed about all this, but it kind of looks like he's gone back to that.
I think you're right.
I'm angry again, and he's damned if his record's pretty good.
How nasty did he look? How scary did he look when he come at that arm? Jeez, I went running the other way.
All right, where we're seeing Carlton at the moment. Mate, I mean, Port mauled them. I mean, they're up by 41 at stage, and the game gets back to 28. So.
They won 2 in a row. They beat Freo and Gold Coast, and both really good wins. And they had a good game against Collingwood prior to that. I think that was round 2. I thought Port made them look really second rate. They look like an average team. They're playing the best team in the comp. There's no question about that. They Port are ticking every box at the moment. Even with the injuries, they're sort of having to go week in and week out with. But they made them look second rate. I know all of a sudden, Chris Judd is under the microscope saying, he's the least manager. He should take some responsibility. But they still won 2 in a row. Before Port Adelaide. So they've got a lot of young players. And I think that with that becomes a lot of inconsistency, and that's a bit like the Crows. So, look, it's really funny. I spoke to Crow Bradley, and he reckons, there's generations now that don't know how strong Carlton were back in those 80s when I was at the club. And it's very, very true. It's been a long time since they've been a powerhouse, a long time. And as we know, and our viewers know, during the 70s and 80s, they were the powerhouse of VFL, AFL football.
Yep.
Now they're just they're just making up numbers.
Yeah, Johnny Elliott was there. I'll just ask you these names here, mate. Murphy, Betts, Casbolt, McGovern. We're seeing him there next year?
Look, I think Levi Casbolt is certainly worth just keep persisting with it. I think he's a really good player. Mitch McGovern, I thought that he would have given more in the way of consistency performance. I know he's had a few little injuries because I thought he was fantastic for the Crows. I really did. I thought he was a really big loss, and he hasn't been the same player because of probably injury since he's gone over to Carlton. Eddie Betts, I watched him against Port. He was completely sort of outclassed, in one probably game plan as well. But he certainly didn't have the players around him to give him those really sneaky opportunities. And then I think Mark Murphy is one that I'd like to see hang up his boots at the end of the year. But in saying that, he's been absolutely a wonderful player. But watching him as good as your last game.
Yep.
And I thought last week he was average.
Yeah, it's interesting. On that list, I think you've summed it up pretty well. It's hard not to get seduced by Eddie Betts, isn't it? He's so charismatic. We love the way he plays. Yeah. He's a champion football ego.
And
never
ride off the champion.
Bloke. And I think he brings another dynamic to that group, which is not necessarily him getting one from Betts' corner. Or
he just needs to do a bit more. If his players were just able to give him a couple more opportunities, just to be that really flashy player that we all know he can be. But he doesn't get the opportunities now. He won't get the opportunities. Right. The ball's not going on the forward line the number of times it was when he was with the Crows. And coming of sort of age, it's going to be harder.
All right, now let me ask you about Mark Williams. Melbourne have started the season 5-0. So normally when you start a season, you have 5 wins. You're going to play finals footy. Unless something drastic happens at Melbourne now, I think we'll see them play finals footy. Some of their players are saying they're better placed than they were a couple of years ago when they made the finals. I don't know that we're talking grand finals here, but certainly pre-season people were saying
best recruit Goody could have got.
Yeah,
by far. And you've coached at the highest level. And I suppose you can, get all the pats on the back with winning premierships, and you won the back-to-back. But deep down that you've got your team.
Yes.
that as a whole, that's what wins. That's what wins. And I think that was missing with Melbourne over the last couple of years. Mark Williams is a very strong personality, and I've spoken to many of Melbourne people. In Melbourne.
Yes.
And they say Mark Williams, from all report, has been outstanding. And we know he's very strong, but just getting the message of what Goody wants to get across to the players. And as you know, he's very strong, Mark Williams.
I'm a fan, and I've spent time working with the family. But I reckon the big change, and I like you, I've spoken to some players that are over there. I said, what's the one thing that you think Mark Williams has brought to the group? And they're saying, when you get to training, you've got to be ready to go. He is on you straight away about how mentally tough you need to be. Then he gets into the skills. We know he's got that boundless energy.
But how much confidence does he give you?
Massive.
He's a typical Williams.
Massive.
He gives you that confidence.
But it just looks like he's found that niche where he's helping Goody and the team's moving forward, and he's just been able to bring all that together, that wise
he's done it wonderfully.
Coach. For the first time in a couple of weeks, I saw his name mentioned. If Buckley was to move on, I saw his name mentioned. Now, I haven't seen that for 2 or 3 years. It's interesting.
And you actually brought this up
so I think suddenly he's starting to get back into the mix. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised.
I like it.
Hey, just quickly before we go to the break, the MCG, if they open it up to 100,000, they'll get 71,000 plus for Essendon Carlton. You've played in a couple of those Anzac Day games. You know the emotion that goes with it. It'll be the biggest crowd since COVID to a sporting event. That's great for Australia, isn't it?
It's just welcome back. Just welcome back. And it's there's talks about getting capacity at in our showdown. 55,000, fantastic. Just at 100. Probably at the Anzac Clash, Essendon and
we just don't need COVID to strike again, do we?
Oh, no.
Hey, just quickly, what's it like, Essendon? Collingwood. Well, for you played in it.
Look, I remember playing on a Friday night, not on the Monday, but on the Friday at Anzac long weekend.
I
think it was 91,000 there in a minor on a Friday night. And I'm thinking,
wow,
how do you go from work? Collins Street, or and then we go to the footy, and then all of a sudden you sort of get into the ground and of course, you've only got a small window from 5 o'clock knockoff time to get to the ground. It's not like, getting ball bouncing at 2:20 and you've got all that morning to get ready. And then you just squeeze yourself in to 90,000 people at the Essendon Collingwood. But we know there's some big, huge crowds in Melbourne.
Oh, we need to get to a break. Back in a moment. Yes, welcome back to Before the Bounce. Well, it's time to get to the Cinderella cleaning, mate. We like this one, of course. Give Mark a call, 8271 6677. You want your bathrooms cleaned hygienically, the carport cleaned, the carpet cleaned, windows, yard cleaning. He does it all, mate. He is absolutely fantastic. Of course, the managing director, Mark, has said, let's find who's got the cleanest skills. So we've had a couple of big ones. Last week, you weren't here, mate. No. We went with Ackermanis. And Kevin Bartlett.
That's a beauty, that one. I'd have been on the fence, I think.
On the fence. Well, I was a bit on the fence too. And let me tell you that Ackermanis snuck in, mate. So Baz lost again. So this week, mate, here's a couple of superstar full forwards. We're talking about Jason Dunstall and Tony Lockett. Just to give you a brief on Jason Dunstall, mate. 4 times premiership player. 4 times best and fairest at the club. 3 times he won the Coleman medal. 12 times he won the Hawks goal kicking. He was captain of the Hawks from 95 to 98. 2 times All-Australian. Of course, he's in the Hall of Fame and he's in the Hawks team of the century. He kicked 100 goals 6 times.
Okay. Unbelievable. My man, Tony Lockett, 1,360 goals he's kicked in his VFL, AFL career. Brownlow medalist. Of course, he shared that with the Rat, Johnny Platten. 4-time Coleman medalist. 100 goals in 6 seasons. 100 goals 6 times. It's just amazing. Of course, Hall of Fame, E.J. Whitten medalist, and that was 1991. He averaged 7.87 goals per game.
That's amazing. I mean, you're talking 8 goals a game for a season. Will we ever see that again? Do you think the way the game's being played could set now?
Look, there's very few sides at the moment that have a real stay-at-home full forwards or centre-half forward. Generally, you're going from full forward to centre-half forward, perhaps to a forward pocket, then and then off. So it's that rotation where when you've got, you don't see today's football a big, strong, full forward, just sitting in the goal square. Hawkins a little bit, but, it's going to be interesting now that, with Jeremy Cameron. So, but no, you're not going to see that anymore. And you've got Paul Salmon, you're throwing Tony Modra. That was era.
Yep.
But 1,360 goals.
So these two here, I'm going with Jason Dunstall.
Okay,
and the reason I'm going with Dunstall is that I think he was more explosive. The first 4 steps, he was just explosive. He got away, had an unbelievable set of hands.
Yeah.
And he could get off on different angles really quickly.
He was very quick. He was very quick off the mark.
I think, and the take that makes me want to tick him just a little bit ahead of Tony Lockett, I think is just a superstar, was that Lockett was big and powerful and straight at it. Whereas I think Dunstall just had a little bit more range about him.
He had more range, no question. But we're looking at Tony Lockett in just a bit of an average side. It wasn't like a premiership after premiership after premiership when you got Rolls Royces up.
If Johnny Blanton's giving you the ball, or
Darren Jarman, Darren Jarman just putting it lace out.
Yep.
Not taking anything away from St Kilda's players like Burke and those, and Harvey and those Torba players, because they're brilliant as well. But they just had a lot more on the pool at Hawthorn.
Sure.
He's averaging nearly 8 goals a game, and I don't think I ever played against St Kilda without us double playing him.
Lockett.
We always had Dean Wallace
and
Anthony Danaher always on Tony Lockett, so we had one loose. And that was
very
it's very rare in those days to play a loose for 4 quarters. But Tony Lockett was just such a powerhouse that we needed to, because I suppose in the day you still had Dermot to worry about, Dermot Brereton. So you had a lot of feeding there,
all right. Well,
Dunstall,
send us.
But it's not about us.
We need you to send in. We need the viewers to send in.
Please.
Is it Dunstall or is it Tony Lockett? We'll get to a break.
Get on it.
Well played. Lockett in the box soon as he can't work to the front. Martin with him. Played Lockett. Played Tony. Left foot goal. Sensational.
In front of goal. Gives a chance for Hawthorn. Pritchard cleverly. Dunstall, dangerous Dunstall. Breaks the tackle. Dunstall on the right with the champion full forward. Hooks it through for his 5th. What a goal.
That was from Armour in towards half-forward. Kelly, little too far. Lockett, wonderful control from Lockett. Is he straight? Sensational play by Tony Lockett.
Dunstall has the drop. He goes back in front. Brennan's fallen over. Dunstall deep in the pocket. Measures the options. Pulls it back. It's a goal.
Lockett's already kicked 5. He'll mark this 2, I would think. Yes! Dunstall running into the pocket. He's got the ground on Archer. That's a sensational mark.
And kicks it to Lockett. And he takes another one.
We're to change players as 19th and 20th men.
Dunstall. And Lewis kicks it to him. And Plaggett's got it. Magnificent grab. Tapped on by Hudson Dunstall. He's kicked 3. Left foot. He's kicked 4. Spears it in towards Lockett. Fletcher is there, right there with him. But Lockett's fantastic recovery. Wonderful play by Tony Lockett. Left to right.
These are the ones he kicks through.
Stand by. Oh, look at that. Could he kick 10 goals for the 21st time in his career? I reckon he's done it. What about that, Tony boy?
He hooks it back. Taylor and Dunstall. Dunstall march. He's killing Gary Kern at the moment.
Mooney to Dunkley. Dunkley's kicked the ball forward. Lockett!
The kick has to be good from half, but it is. Dunstall driving.
Replacing Lockett. Lockett's got it. Super mark.
Kepler to Leckers, they come forward again. Here he is again, Dunstall. He runs to the back of the pack, kicks it off the ground.
Now he recovers, but a little too late as they lock the bends around the body. Lockett, Green left it for Lockett, couldn't take it. He goes again. Lockett, a snap, a high snap, a fight.
Yep, welcome back to Before the Bounce. I know. I can't believe it.
How good.
Not only are you
It's
back.
no show without end.
Oh, God help me.
It's
God
from the
help me.
public. It's not from me.
It's a demand.
It was demand. When's the
No show
about
about
Endo back? Yeah.
There was nearly no go about Endo a couple of weeks ago.
No.
mate.
And of course, it's brought to you by Rachel Laurie.
Magnificent down there at North
I'm on
Adelaide.
Facebook friends with Rachel, and all the photos is her at sporting events, again sponsoring more of SA sporting stars and upcoming stars.
Yep.
She's absolutely wonderful.
Ray
So
White
just
down there at North Adelaide, mate. You need to give her a buzz, mate, too. 042 88 or 888, sorry.
Yeah.
888 864 042 888 2864. We'll get you to Rachel Laurie and she'll do a ripping job.
I want to chat about the great, the big Tex Walker. It wasn't
Uh-huh.
long. We're only talking a couple of months ago. Well, let's get Texas out of those boots and let's throw him in the River Torrens.
I never said
He's
that.
finished. He's
Yeah.
I must
was a
admit,
Tex supporter.
I probably was only sitting on the fence,
fence, were
no
you?
question.
Those pickets are uncomfortable, aren't they?
They're very, very uncomfortable. And I feel terrible now. Terrible because all of a sudden he's the best centre forward in the competition.
Yep.
Saying he's probably winning the Brownlow at this stage. 19
up and
goals.
about.
He's up and about because he's a champion.
Yep.
And it's too often when we just when a champion just has an average season, we jump off them. And you look at Gary Ablett Jr.
Yep.
Tony Lockett's one.
Yep.
Diesel Williams, the big mummy of course, when you look back in the history, there's me as well. Of course, I was a little bit sluggish after
People jumped off of you
when I
at
done
some
my
stage.
Achilles
Oh,
tendon.
that would have been a nasty injury.
I was never going to come back,
Yeah.
but I came back.
Yeah.
I came back. Probably not all that well, by the way. Not all that well. And you're the same. You had unbelievable career in basketball, Olympian and national championships and all that sort of stuff. You came back to Adelaide, and of course you had the great coach who gave you another chance, Mike Dunlap. So that was wonderful. I know you're very, very close with Mike. So it's great to finish off you finished your career.
Oh, yeah.
5 Olympics, I'll just let you mention that.
A
couple of national championships.
Yes,
You coached a
I thought I
couple
was
as
a bit too
well.
well. He thought I was a bit too old.
Is that
He
right?
thought I was a bit too old. And it was actually, while we're having a crack at him, he did say after he left, mate, that they asked him whether he thought I'd be a good coach, and he said no.
Is that
Yeah, so it wasn't personal.
Oh, it wasn't at all. Back-to-back premiership. There you go, Mike. There you go. So
Sorry, I don't
with the
think he
last
got
part.
one when he was here. No, he didn't.
No,
Okay, we don't want to go there. But we did
got
do
to.
that a bit, don't we? Hey, just quickly, because I know we've got to wrap it up. Names on the back of the jumpers. I've been on this for 4 or 5 years for a couple of reasons. I go to the footy, and then because of the rotations, interchange. Now, if I've got the footy budget, I can sit there and go, oh, yeah, there's Anderson, there's Butterworth, there's Smythe, and so it goes.
Yep.
But I take a couple of my mates along. Never been to the footy before, and they want to get involved.
very corporate
in it.
now. It's very
and
corporate.
you go, gee whiz, who are these players? Who are these players? I'm sitting at home without a footy budget.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, number 3's playing pretty well. Number 7's doing a great
There's
job.
got to be names on the back because there's so many players around the ball now. No one's holding their position. So as we know, you can have 36 players in someone's attack or someone's defence, whatever the case may be. 36 players. How do you know who's who?
I just think it's time. I think
you're
it's time.
right,
I know they've
yeah.
stayed with the tradition
4
of the
on,
numbers.
4
but-
off. Yesteryear,
You know.
hey, look, if I got dragged at Port Adelaide, basically I'm not coming back on. I'm playing average. There's going to be no little divvy at the back at the presentations that night. Now you're on and off, and you've got rotations
Think of the
happening.
merchandising though. You know, a Wanganeen on the back of it, or an
fantastic.
Ebert, or
I'll still get Smythe on mine.
Would-
Don't worry about it. One bloke I wouldn't be is Mike Dunlop. Don't worry, he's off. He's right off.
I think we need to wrap it up right now before the bounce. Over and out. Look forward to your company next week, everybody. Bye for now.